And hello one and all once again, my second video in one day. Welcome to my review for the WWE Cruiserweight Classic. We're going to take a look at everything that took place in week 4 of this competition. We had 4 matches on the card last night, and overall I enjoyed this episode of the Cruiserweight Classic. It's such a breath of fresh air, I have to say, with the different styles that mash up in these matches. And this episode certainly pulled no punches, no pun intended. Like I said, I thought it was a solid edition of the Cruiserweight Classic. And it really rounded out what was an enjoyable week of programming from WWE. Whether it was Raw on Monday, SmackDown on Tuesday, NXT, and now the CWC. I feel like all of WWE's main programs were enjoyable, so kudos to them for putting out a solid week of wrestling. It ain't easy when you have 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of SmackDown, an hour of NXT, and an hour of the Cruiserweight Classic, but they managed to pull it off. Like I said, this was a very good episode with a great main event. And, several other good matches. There were 4 matches total, but we're going to go match-by-match breakdown, and I'll give you my full thoughts and opinions. But yeah, let's, without further ado, get into what took place on last night's edition of the CWC. So, like I said, we had 4 matches on this show, and our first match of the evening was Rich Swann taking on Jason Lee of Hong Kong. Rich Swann got a tremendous ovation from the crowd. I like him myself. He just brings this charisma and this intensity and just a fun-loving, good atmosphere. I mean, he's dancing, he's having a good time, he's got the moves, he's got, like I said, a ton of charisma. He's ready to go in the ring. I thought him and Jason Lee went out there and they had a pretty solid opening match. Like I said, I was pulling for Swann here to get the win, and of course he was able to get the win after he hit a beautiful standing 450 splash to pick up the victory. There was also another nice move. It was a top rope Hurricane Rana hit by Swann. He also followed that up with a rolling frog splash. Having a tough time with my words. But Rich Swann looked good here. Like I said, he was really over with the crowd. We've seen him before on NXT. Apparently had an injury that he had to work through to get here, but this was good stuff all around. Good showing for both guys. Happy to see Rich Swann advance into the second round of the Cruiserweight Classic. And just nothing really too much to complain about here. Good stuff. We then move on to our second match of the evening, which was Noman Dar from Scotland taking on Gaurav Shira from India. This was a decent match. It was probably the weakest. It was the weakest of the 4 matches on this show. Crowd really wasn't too much into it, as you could tell throughout the match. It was a bit more of a slower pace, but all I can say is Dar was able to get the win via the submission after he applied a knee bar and hyperextended the other knee of Sihara to force the tap out. So Dar advances, and like I said, what was the weakest match on the show here. After this, we had our third match of the evening. This was a really good match. This was Fabian Aichner versus Jack Gallagher from the United Kingdom. So Aichner from Italy and Gallagher from the UK. And Jack Gallagher, kudos to him. He had a tremendous showing here. The way that he was able to apply the holds and get out of maneuvers and use his speed and agility just to captivate the crowd. I was in awe of what he was able to do. And Aichner, of course, he hit a very nice, he went up to the top rope, and then he went into a springboard double moonsault for a 2 count. That was a really nice spot. And like I said, these guys worked well. They put on a good match. Aichner more of the power, the finesse, complementing Gallagher's, maneuverability and overall speed. He's not a big guy, Gallagher, as you could tell. I think he weighs 159, something like that. So he had to pull out all the stops here against Aichner. And Aichner hit a nice sit-out powerbomb for a 2 count. And then he hit went for the frog splash, but Gallagher was able to get out of the way. Gallagher was able to hit the corner drop kick to pick up the victory. So looked very, very strong in victory over Aichner here. I was happy to see Jack Gallagher advance. The crowd was getting more and more behind him as this match went on. I definitely think he has potential to go very far in the Cruiserweight Classic. Daniel Bryan was talking about how good he was on commentary tonight. And yeah, this was probably my second favorite match on the show tonight, but the main event, of course, was the match that certainly stole the show. It was great. It was as good as I knew it was going to be. It was Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa. Props to both guys. They went out there. They at least went 13, maybe 14 minutes, and they had a hell of a match. These two, you take Gargano with his speed and tenacity and versus the power and the hard-hitting viciousness of Tommaso Ciampa. They both are best friends with one another. They know each other well, as they said in the video package before this, and they took it to the limit. There was just great action after great action, with whether it was the knife edge chops by Ciampa, the running knee that he hit that knocked Gargano off the apron, to Gargano hitting a slingshot DDT, to the suicide dive by Johnny Gargano onto Ciampa. Ciampa also got Gargano and hit him back first onto the ring apron, so that looked very, very sick. And then towards the end of the match, they're trading blows and moves back and forth with one another. I'm thinking this match definitely has the feel that it could go either way, and that's what ended up happening. Ciampa tried to hit a discus lariat, but Gargano was able to counter with the rolling crucifix to pick up the upset victory over Ciampa, and I really liked how after the fact, the level of frustration that seemed to be seeping in on Ciampa, and you didn't know how he was going to react to losing to his friend. He said he was going to hurt Johnny if he had to. He wasn't going to injure him, but he was going to make it hurt. And Ciampa got back in the ring, put his arm around Gargano, and they showed a level of class and respect. So these two are currently fast-rising tag team on NXT. But this was great stuff. Good way to close out this week's edition of the Cruiserweight Classic. And Johnny Gargano is the one to advance, and he's a great wrestler, very good wrestler, and I'm excited to see how far he can go in the Cruiserweight Classic. But like I said, really enjoyed, for the most part, 3 out of the 4 matches on this show. It was a solid Cruiserweight Classic, another good addition. Great commentary by Mauro Ranallo and Daniel Bryan. Can't put those guys over enough. They call the moves. They call the action in the ring. They don't worry about the bullshit, all this other stuff that's going on outside. They focus on the wrestling that's going on in the ring. So, good stuff this week on the Cruiserweight Classic. I'm giving this episode a solid B+. Really good showing. We already have this is our second round match listing for the Cruiserweight Classics. We have Tozawa versus Jack Gallagher. We have Tajiri versus Grand Metalik, which we will see next week. We have Drew Gulak versus Zack Sabre Jr., Noam Dar versus Ho-Ho Lun, Brian Kendrick versus Tony Nese, Kota Ibushi versus Cedric Alexander, which will be the main event next week, and that should be really awesome. TJ Perkins versus Johnny Gargano. Can't wait for that one. And Lince Dorado versus Rich Swann. So yeah, like I said, next week we have Tajiri versus Grand Metalik and Cedric Alexander versus Ibushi, so that's already a phenomenal listing right there. So I can't wait to watch and review the Cruiserweight Classic next week. But guys, those are my thoughts and opinions on the Cruiserweight Classic episode for August the 3rd, 2016. Let me know down in the comments section below what you all thought, and I will, of course, see you guys in my next video. So please remember to click that like and subscribe button for more video content coming soon to this channel, because without you, this channel wouldn't be able to grow. So thank you to each and all of my subscribers. So I will see you guys in my next video. Until then, take care.